I'm Chanel Scott, the queen of relationship talk.
I'm Josh Powell, two-time NBA champion.
I've journeyed from trauma to healing.
From the NBA to family, I've learned what really matters.
We've come together to unlock the secrets of successful relationships.
One conversation at a time.
One conversation at a time. Welcome to Relationships Matter. I am Chanel Scott.
And I am Josh Powell.
And so today, guys, it's Josh and I, and we are going to talk about heartbreak. Unless the conversation goes in another direction.
It's your favorite. This is your favorite topic.
This
Feel
is
like it's
not,
one of your favorite topics.
I never talked about this topic before.
Exactly. That's why this is one of your favorites.
I think you came up with this one.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll ask the first question.
Okay.
Have you ever had a heartbreak?
I have.
Really?
Yeah. And I had plenty. I think starting back with my mother. I think my mother was my first heartbreak. And more so the reason being things were happening in my childhood, you know what I mean? And she had to make some decisions that were hard. And, you know, I ended up living with my grandparents. And I'm not mad at her about it, but I think at that point in that age, being supportive but not necessarily quite understanding. So, you know, it could look like, well, she's just leaving me, you know what I'm saying? And I don't have abandonment issues. I'm not trying to say she abandoned me or that was that feeling, but it's like, okay, you know, I'm waiting for her to come back, you know what I'm saying, and what's going on, and then just adjusting to this different way of life. And I love my mom. Like, we never had any issues or nothing like that growing up, but I do feel out of fairness in a sense as a child and being young, like there's some hurt there because you're not necessarily understanding like the reason, you know, that's like that adult thing.
Yeah.
You know, so kids, it's like, you know, you're not really in a mature place to really understand why she made the decision that she made.
Do you think that has impacted your relationships as an adult? Your romantic relationships?
No, I think what impacted the romantic relationships would probably be the things that I saw, the other trauma and things that I experienced for sure. But I would think, you know, when I go back and think of it, even when I used to like girls and stuff like that, you know, I would probably say the start was just that. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, me and my mom were close, and then that moment in time where I didn't see her as much, and she would come visit, check on me, and, you know, talk to her on the phone, but, you know, it's still a little different. What about for you?
I think in terms of experience, because I would say a similar situation, but I think the way I saw it was different. Because at 10 years old, my parents decided that I would go live with my dad. But I was happy.
Right.
I was like, okay. But I love my mom.
Right.
And I wanted to go see her during the summer times. And she even came and lived in North Carolina where my dad lived at the time. My mom is from Jersey.
Okay.
My dad is from North Carolina. And she came and she even tried to live there for maybe a year or two. And then she got sick. And so she had to go back to Jersey where my grandmother was to help care for her. And in that moment, I never forget, my dad was like, okay, you got to go home and go to school, because I wanted to stay with her the night before she left. And I wanted to stay, and he was like, no. So I was like, well, I'm going to go back with my mama. And so I ended up going back to Jersey with her, and I stayed for a year, 8th grade. And then I was like, Ma, I want to go back down south.
Right.
I want to go back because it's just a different way of life.
Right.
So I think even in that, I never knew this as a kid, but I always thought it was my decision to go stay with my dad when I was 10.
Okay.
But I found out later that they had a conversation, and that was something they decided, and they asked me, and I said,
and it just so happened to work out.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. So I never knew that, but I love both of my parents. I'm very close to both of them, but even then I knew it was for the best.
So where did the heartbreak come in that part of it?
I didn't get in terms of heartbreak, I didn't have a heartbreak.
Gotcha.
I think my first heartbreak was in terms of a romantic situation. I think so I'm 6'1", and I've been 6'1" since I was 15.
Right.
And when you're tall like that as a kid, you're awkward. It's awkward. You're awkward looking. Okay. And so that's where the heartbreak, the rejection, those things that I talk about a lot on our show, it stemmed from.
Right.
A lot of times people say they have daddy issues. I didn't have daddy issues. I had my rejection and some of my trauma just came from how I was received, as a kid, how I was treated by my peers, not my parents, but my peers, and then I think my first heartbreak was I liked a guy and I thought he liked me back because he returned the energy. As a matter of fact, he liked me first and then I liked him back, but then he slept with someone else and he told me that he did. And that was hurtful to me, and so we broke up. I don't know if he wanted to break up. That may have been his motive for telling me, but I think that was my first heartbreak.
The other thing when talking about this particular subject is like, First of all, it isn't talked about enough. You know what I mean? And what it looks like. How do you identify with it? How do you take the necessary steps to overcome it? All of these different things. But we typically relate the heartbreak to a significant other.
Yes.
And sometimes the heartbreak could be family. It could be a friend, right? It could also be the loss of someone who is extremely important. Right. And then there are people that really struggle, you know what I'm saying, with dealing with that grandma or granddad that was their caretaker or somebody they're really close with that is now gone. You know what I mean? Or losing a parent as a teenager or something like that. And I know for me, even in regards to my old man, that relationship has been a whirlwind of things. And, still to this day, like there's still challenges there, and he was always in and out. And I'm sure that has had some type of impact on my life in some way, shape or form. But I've done work and still doing the work to overcome if there is anything left. But I did want to mention that as well because, when we think about our personal relationships and where certain things stem from, it's like if you have an issue with your mom or your dad early, that's going to show in the rest of your relationships. The daddy issue or the mommy issue thing is something that's extremely significant.
It's so funny. I think, so my dad has always been like my mom is my biggest cheerleader now, but my dad when I was younger. And I think one of the things I had to reconcile,
right,
because my dad has never come to any of my shows, Comministry, namely. And that hurt me. And I could never pinpoint a time where I felt hurt by my dad until I was an adult and he didn't support. And I'm like, I'm doing this major thing. My show's on TV and you don't want to come. And he straight out said, I don't want to, I'm not interested. I don't want to come. And I had to make a decision in that moment because I didn't have the daddy issues growing up. Like, do I hold on to this hurt or do I just accept the fact that this is the decision that he has made and accept it for what it is? And I chose to accept it for what it is and not feed into the fact that my daddy don't support me. And I know that one of the things that I struggle with, like people say, okay, you don't have the daddy issues. One of the things that I struggle with is that my parents, I know they love me without they love me. Like sometimes I think, like my nephew would say to me, Auntie, you love me too much. Sometimes I think that. I always, like my nephew has said that to me. I always wanted to experience love from someone outside of that dynamic because I always got it from them. Like I want to experience love. Like, I mean, I feel like they don't have to love me, but they do. But I'm like, boy, wouldn't it be great to experience love outside of the family dynamic? So maybe sometimes I might take that relationship for granted But that has been one of my struggles. But yeah, just in terms of my dad. And then when I had the conversation face to face with him about not supporting, he cried. He cried. Like I was, okay, so I said, let me just leave him alone because I don't want to see him hurt. This is not that serious. And I know that he loved me, but I just have to respect his stance. He's one that's set in his way. He's from a small town. He don't venture out, and that's his comfort zone. He came to the book signing in Greensboro. That was about an hour away just to show his support. That was him showing. But I said, let me just let him be because I don't want to hurt him, because I'm on him about not supporting me.
No, absolutely. And more to this conversation when we get back. Relationships matter. Relationships matter. Relationships
matter. Welcome back to Relationships Matter. So we're talking about heartbreak, and you and I are friends. I want to kind of zone in on you because I don't feel like I don't see you experiencing heartbreak. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you don't show emotion. Like you just go with the flow, whatever it is, right? Now, I have seen you fight for your children. But in terms of like friendships, you don't fight. You just...
I do fight. And even so, even in regards to my kids, right? Like understanding that the fight looks different, especially being in a different place. And it took a while to get to a point in a place where I could just be okay. Because the beginning part of the fight looks like guilt, looks like shame, looks like trying to prove yourself to people that you love them and you hope that they love you. And there's a reason why I'm saying hope. You know what I'm saying? Because that love is not always understood.
Right.
We make that assumption with our family, with our friends, with our loved ones. We make that assumption, but there is a hope. And for me, in regards to my kids now, I'm in a great place because I've taken my power back. I don't put all of that on them to acknowledge me or to appreciate me or any of those things. I just stay doing the work in hopes that they'll see it. And if they don't see it, maybe their peers see it. Because it's different when somebody else come up to you and be like, man, your mom or your dad, they seem like really good people. Or man, you're lucky, or whatever the case may be. So I've removed that. And I think it's, it's fair for you to say that. But I also think too, like, how many men have ever been in a position where they can actually share or express something that they've gone through? Typically what we're taught is, oh, so-and-so did this. Well, this what we own. Let's find the new chick. Let's go to the new spot. Let's go watch a movie. Let's do something to distract you from whatever it is that you're feeling. And then because I don't want to ignore it, right? Because I do come from a heavy background of trauma and stuff like that. I'm sure there is that numbness that's in there because I've gotten so used to the toxicity.
Yeah.
I've gotten so used to something bad or negative happening that I'm not able to just kind of just be present and be in that moment because I'm waiting for the next thing.
Wow. So does it hurt you? I want to go back to a statement that you said, not the acknowledgement from the children. Does that hurt?
Naturally, yes. But then it's like, it is what it is.
How you deal with that hurt though?
I feel like we all think of times we done had our moments of button heads, and that's the one thing that comes up, right? Is acknowledgement.
Yes.
Right? So I understand there's importance in showing the person who's on the other end that you hear them, you see them, right? But as I continue to grow, and then I remove that expectation from people, and that's why it's just good to stand on what you're on and be confident in that space.
But how can you have a valuable, V-I-A-B-L-E, valuable relationship and not be acknowledged? Your feelings not be acknowledged. It's hard to develop a level of trust. So then in turn, you do like this all the time. Whereas when there's trust, then maybe they didn't acknowledge. But you're like, you know what? I know they love me. That's my friend. I know they wouldn't do anything to hurt me.
No, I wouldn't say that. I actually feel the opposite way, which we've talked about on other episodes. It's like, or just in conversation in general, it's like my trauma has led me to believe that any and everybody can do that thing. I don't put nothing past nobody.
No matter how much they show you that they love you and that they're there for you and support you.
Because you're still human. And you can wake up on that side of the bed. You can have a moment. Anything can happen. Even if it's just one time. So I don't know any relationship where a person, have you ever been in a relationship with a person that you say you love and they say they love you and they haven't hurt you? They've hurt you, right?
I've never. I just feel like that's a surface relationship, though.
Not necessarily, because somebody's going to do something that's going to disappoint you.
Right, disappointment, yes.
That's hurt.
Yeah, but I mean, I would like to have a friendship, a relationship where I'm not expecting. Now, if it happens, but I'm not looking.
I didn't say that I'm looking, but I don't put it past. I don't have to look for it.
I don't even think about it until it actually happens.
But I'm not saying that I'm thinking about it either. Because the seed is already planted. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? For me, I'm not trying to force my perspective on anybody.
Yeah.
But for me, the seed is already planted. I've seen it from family. I've seen it from people I've been in a relationship with. I've seen it from my own kids. I've seen it from my partners. I've seen it from teachers, coaches. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And these people who say that they care about you or say that they love you or whatever, it's like there's something underlined in some situations. I'm not going to say many, and I'm not going to say all, but I'm just sharing that it is possible. And then it may not be intentional, but it's still possible.
I got to ask you a question. This is a personal question, though. So with that mindset, that thought process, does it make it easier for you to offend if necessary? Like, like if you already saying, well, they're capable, I don't put nothing past them. So then when you're faced with a decision to make, and that decision could potentially hurt your friend, is it easier to say, well, I'm going to do this because that's what I want to do? Versus, I don't want this to hurt my friend. Like, I don't want my actions to hurt my friend. So maybe I don't do that.
So I get what you're saying. And that's a great question. But an even better answer is when you love somebody, you're going to do what's right regardless. You're going to make the necessary decision regardless.
Even for your friends?
I don't care who it is. For your friends, your family, your kids, whatever the situation is, when you say you love a person, then
that's the key word, love.
But again, whether love, care, however it is, right? You value this person, you spend time with it, whatever it is, even if it's a work relationship, it's still a relationship. So I owe it to the person or the business or my kids or whomever to always err on the side of doing the correct thing, even if I suffer from it.
See, I think you got to see value before you actually. And the reason I say that is because
I do see value, but you don't think that's important. So would you rather me keep it a being with you, or would you rather me present to you what you want to see?
But see, keeping a being sometimes means I'm going to offend.
And that's okay.
And I'm going to hurt your feelings.
But it's not intentional.
How is it not intentional? If I'm saying that decision hurts my feelings. Okay. And you make it.
Watch this. Give me $1 million.
Okay.
It's not okay. You're not going to tell everybody okay.
No.
You're going to tell some people that you love no, right?
But you asked me, though.
Okay, well, give me $100 million then.
I don't have 100 mil to give to you.
So you just hurt my feelings.
Get out of here, Josh.
And when we get back, more with Relationships Matter.
Relationships matter. Relationships matter.
Welcome back to Relationships Matter. So before we went to break, Josh asked me for $100 million. But
And
it
you hurt my
lacked
feelings.
substance. It didn't hurt your feelings because you
It
didn't really
did.
need it. But I got to say this. Had you come to me, like you wouldn't come to me for 100 mil because you know I don't have it. But if you came to me and you asked me for something with conviction, like, and you really needed it, and I said no, knowing your circumstances, I could see how that would hurt your feelings. But I just feel like you wouldn't come to me unless you knew that there was a strong possibility.
But again, why should hurting my feelings be on your mind if you're doing something that's best for you?
Well, in that situation, because you're my friend, I'm going to give an explanation as to why I can't if I can't. But
you're again doing something that's best for you.
Well, yeah, in that regard, yes. But
Okay.
that shouldn't be offensive if I say no.
That's my point.
But I'm just saying, but
Thank you.
that's different though.
That's my
different.
point.
Because I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna take, because like sometimes I feel like some of the decisions that have been made in times past has made me feel like I don't know this person. I thought I knew him, but I don't know him. I don't know my friend.
So you know me when I do what you want to do.
No,
But then you don't. That's typically how it happens. In a lot of people's relationships, because people aren't being honest. People are cool with people because what they get from them. They cool with people because of a status thing. Mm-hmm. They're cool with people because of who they cool with. A lot of people are really out here using people and calling that relationship. That's why all the heartbreak is happening.
Well, no, people do have unmet expectations for themselves in terms of relationship because they're not honest with themselves. But I wasn't talking about them. I was talking about me. I just want to clear that up. I just think that, I'm just saying in times past, decisions have led me to believe that I didn't know you like I thought. But you're absolutely right. People do create unmet expectations because they're not honest with themselves, number one. They're not honest with themselves, or they don't listen.
How'd that make you feel saying that?
Today, I have to take accountability, you know, for times where I didn't listen, because I think if I listened, a lot of things that have transpired in my life would not have taken place. And I wouldn't have the heartbreak as a result of, not listening, for sure.
But why do you feel that people get offended, right? Yourself included. But when you look at some of your other friends and other situations, why do you feel that people get so offended or so upset or whatever that looks like because a person is doing what they feel is best for them?
That's relative, because just like the example you used of asking for 100 mil and I say no, I feel like you got to make a decision that's best for you. Like, you're not going to give everything away to someone just because they asked for it. But then when you're talking about other decisions in terms of the structure of the friendship, how those decisions impact the friendship. Because I don't think me saying no to 100 mil should impact our friendship. I have a right to say no. Now, if I'm constantly saying no and not supporting you, then that will impact the structure of the friendship because I'm never there for you. And I could see why you would get upset over time. Like, this girl, she never supports me. She sees that I'm having an issue and she never shows up for me. I don't think she's my friend. And I understand and respect that. I think every relationship, every healthy relationship, friendship, should be a relationship or friendship of reciprocity. I pour into you, you pour into me. It should never be a situation where it's one-sided. I'm always pouring, you're not, or you're always pouring and I'm not. Because then you have to question the validity or the healthiness of the relationship. Is low-key toxicity.
Some people don't appreciate how you pour. Therefore, the heartbreak. Some people don't acknowledge a different version of, and that's why when expectations get involved, it could be damaging and cause the heartbreak. Like, a person could be genuine and authentic and they can show up for you the best way that they know how. And that still might not be enough for the individual that's on the other end of it.
But the best way they know how. No, because no. Because there's just certain principles.
What principles
in terms of because you have to give an example. Like, you can't just always be the one receiving and not giving. You know what I'm saying? It can't always be that. It has to be both ways. Maybe not in the way that I give, but maybe emotional. Maybe just being present. Maybe being supportive. Maybe checking in and like, I'm making sure you're good. But it has to go both ways. It don't have to be the same. You don't have to give the way I give. But you have to show up. You can't just not show up, right? The friendship is going to die if it's one-sided. And then I think maybe that's where healthy communication comes in and say, hey, you know, we've been in this friendship for some time now, and I just don't think that you support or show up for me in the way in which I show up or support you.
So because you said this to me over and over again, then therefore this would be dead already.
What you mean?
Because it's like I'm not showing up as a friend the way that you're expecting me to.
I'm gonna give you an example since you want to go there. So like, primary example, and because everybody's love language is different. So like, I know a lot of times I'm a giver. That's just me. And I don't expect people to give the way I give because I get enjoyment out of doing it. So let me just be clear on that. But something that I can appreciate from my friend, especially a male friend, is when they say, when we had our event, we did the Big Bang event a couple of weeks ago. You was getting ready to leave. I was kind of slow to the pull because I'm used to moving by myself, right? I'm used to doing my own thing. People don't check on Chanel. I'm the strong friend. You was like, come on, let's go. I'm going to take you to your car. That meant a lot to me because people don't check on me.
Well, I can't speak for people, but I do make sure you could.
But that's the first time you ever did that.
That ain't the first time.
That is the first time you ever did that.
It's not the first time, Chanel.
Yes.
To fit your narrative, we'll go with the first time.
It's not a narrative.
It is.
I just think,
if your expectations aren't met, like I said, it becomes an issue, which is typically, right, let's remove you and say that that's something that a lot of people go through. They're in relationships, they have these friendships, whatever it may be. And they have this idea of how the man is supposed to be or the idea of how the woman is supposed to be. And then when that doesn't happen according to what they might think or see, then there's an issue. And then you also mentioned love language, right? Which is very important, right? So you could be speaking your love language in all of your relationships in your life. And because you're speaking your love language, if that is different from somebody else's, that is a disconnect, which then leads to this heartbreak that we're talking about.
But let me add, but when you see that person showing up for someone else in the manner that you're saying they're not showing up for you, then it's not that they're incapable, that they see you different. They see you different.
You got to put an address on that.
Like, okay, primary example. I have seen you pray for other people in front of other people.
Okay.
I have seen you check on other people, make sure they're good. I have seen you do that. I'm not saying you don't do that now, but I'm saying in times past, I didn't get that.
One of these episodes, I'm going to bring that old phone. I got that whole thread. Boy, I can't wait. And then when I put that thing up to the camera, I want y'all to zoom in.
You always gotta bring things to the camera,
Come
to
on,
the social
man,
media.
it's only right.
I don't want to be a part of that.
It's not done in a distasteful way, you know what I mean? But I just want to be able to be held accountable and make it right. So, you know, you got. I
just think you find it's probably easier for you to show up in that way for people. That's just like, I'll catch you when I catch you. It's just kind of like surface or whatever.
I don't think so. I think there has to be a level of appreciation. Then I also have to say context is everything. What happened in that moment? Because if you catch a moment or if you see something, like what went into that, right? Mm-hmm. Because if our interactions are what they are, then for one, it's unfair to compare that to another interaction, which is a whole different experience. My experience with you is different than experiences with somebody else. And I'm sure you can say the same thing about me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But in order to be fair, I think that we have to remove comparison because that is a huge thief when it comes to joy and being present, right?
I agree. Okay. I agree with you on that.
And because she agreed, we're going to hold it right there. And when we get back, we're going to continue to talk about this topic. Relationships matter.
Relationships matter. Relationships matter.
Welcome back to Relationships Matter.
Oh, no, I had to end it on that last one because it was like you agreed. I had to take that in. But no, I definitely have a good question for you.
Yes.
So when dealing with heartbreak, right? Mm-hmm. Why do you feel that people stay stuck in it as long as they do? What is the holdup from the healing process? Because we understand how heavy, breakups are, or the ending of, a relationship, or any relationship. Mm-hmm. Why do you feel that we just can't, in some cases, get over that thing that happened?
Okay. So you mean someone who has broken someone else's heart and they've moved on and they're still stuck on, are they engaging this person at all? Like, you got to be more
There's explicit. A lot of disclaimers in there. Just at the end of the day, you felt at that time the love of your life.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, y'all broke up. Mm-hmm. I ain't going to say somebody cheated. I ain't got to put all that in there. Yeah. But it just didn't work out. Yeah. And because there are some people out here that aren't going through these traumatic experiences where somebody done cheated and dogged them out and embarrassed them. Mm-hmm. There's some people that just grow apart. Mm-hmm. And that person was their person.
It just depends on the nature of, like, you talked about comparison. I know for me, mm-hmm. I have gone through a bout of not feeling good enough or not being worthy of a particular relationship, or even watching maybe a situation where maybe I wasn't chosen. Okay. Right. And that it plays like you have these mental bouts of why them and not me. Right. That's real. That's realistic. You know what I'm saying? I think it's all about perspective. Like what we was talking about on the break. Like you kind of experience life through your own experiences, your own perspective, and you develop this perspective that may not necessarily be healthy, mm-hmm. And so you see life through that lens, and you got to do the work to undo it. I think in terms of friendship, it's about creating new memories and new experiences, and also developing a level of trust where, like you say, even if, say we have a disagreement, but we know overall, like even if maybe I didn't respond well or you didn't respond well, but overall, like she got my back, he got my back. You know what I'm saying? It comes with trust. Like if you don't trust, then you're going to take everything, you're going to be offended.
A person you trust can still hurt you, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they can still break your heart. Mm-hmm. Right. That's important to be acknowledged.
But I think it's motive. I think for me, let me just speak on me.
These factors.
I think for me, I struggle because I always question a person's motive when they're dealing with me. Okay. Like, are they really doing it because they want to do it, or are they doing it from their heart? I'm always questioning, what's the motive behind why you're doing it? Are you faking? Is it real? Like, I'm going to tell you, I've had some bad experiences in terms of relationships, friendships, when it comes to men, so I'll be the first one to say my perspective is jaded, for sure.
That's big. How do we unjade?
I think creating new experiences and new memories and extending grace and being patient and communication. Sometimes I struggle because I don't want to look like the weak one. So I may not speak on something right away, or I may not ask
When
questions.
you say the weak one, can you, what does that
Like,
mean?
I don't want to look like the needy one or the person, or I don't want to look like the emotional one or the person who I like, you know what? I don't like feeling vulnerable. I like to be the strong one. I like to hang out in that space.
But you know strength comes from being vulnerable.
I know, but I don't like to.
So then which one is it? Because if you're saying you agree, then that version of strength that you're talking about.
I don't like how it makes me feel to be vulnerable.
Why?
I don't know. I do not like how it makes me feel.
I'm feeling it right now. I can feel it. I can sense it right now.
I don't.
But that's heavy for you though.
Yeah, I mean, because fear of being hurt, fear of getting my feelings hurt. So I'd rather hang out in that space of strength rather than be vulnerable. And then it's also trusting that the person can take care of that vulnerability. And I know I shouldn't worry about how the other person responds, but I do, because who wants to be rejected, or who wants to be, dismissed or not acknowledged?
So the things that mean something to you, do you feel you don't do those things to other people?
I feel like I'm a good friend. I don't. I think I don't.
So you talk to everybody from a place of love and respect. You're patient, you're kind. You don't go off on people.
Not go off. That's a trait. I definitely, and I'm not saying it's right. I will.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just asking because it's important.
Now I am passionate, and I can be extremely emotional and expressive.
But that anger though,
It's not anger, it's passion.
that you don't think it's anger?
No.
Okay, so let's kick anger to the curb.
We're talking about when
let's
I
bring
express.
in let's bring in another word. No, I'm just saying in general. Let's bring in another word. Let's say hurt.
Yeah.
Are you hurt?
Yeah. For sure.
Why?
Sure.
Like what can we do to resolve and get over that hump? Because you're gonna always be in defense mode.
I think for me, there's a lot of issues like prior to now in terms of just self-esteem, being rejected, not being chosen, that really messed me up, like really messed with my mental,
Okay.
And not being able to express it or say how I really felt, right? I held in a lot. We talking about us now. I held in a lot over the course of our friendship. Like I wasn't always, because I didn't feel comfortable saying certain things or sharing certain things for fear of it not being received. So I kind of dealt with those things on my own, and it caused some damage. I'm not going to lie. And I kind of deal with things the best way I know how on my own, but sometimes it spills over into the friendship. And I think for me, it's just because I always question, like, you ever want to be loved by someone and don't quite think they'll ever love you the way that you would like them to? You always fighting for someone's love. That's how I feel in our friendship. I always feel like I'm fighting for your love as your friend. And there are moments where I feel like, wow, we're in a great space and this is good. And then there'll be a moment where I feel like, he don't see me, or I'm not being acknowledged, or I'm being dismissed, or he don't understand me. And so rather than me say that and be vulnerable with you and say, I don't think you see me or you don't understand me, then that's when you'll see the hurt or the anger or the over talking. Because in that moment, I'm feeling vulnerable, or I feel like I got to stand on this. Or I feel like if I don't stand on it, then my voice is going to be silenced. Or I got to dim my light. Or I got to strength to be a person that I never want to be. The person that I was 4 years ago. I never want to be that person. Because I did create a narrative in my head of why he don't like me, or why this happened, or I'm not this, I'm not that, or he ain't like me because of my hair, or because of how I dressed, or because of where I lived. You know what I'm saying? So it made me hate myself. It made me not like myself. And I never want to be that person again, a person who don't like themselves. So that's why, like now, I'm in a different space. It's like I overcompensate. And I think I spend way too much money because it's like I never want to feel the way that person felt before. I never want to feel it, and I felt like no matter what I did, it wasn't good enough. Not even for a friendship. We didn't have an open line of communication where I could just come and express myself. We did not have that. So I just kind of like, there were a lot of things that just broke my heart. Like, this is real. This ain't for no show. It crushed me, but I couldn't share it with you. I couldn't share it with you because I didn't feel like you cared, or you know what I'm saying? Like I felt like, I felt like he know how I feel, but he chooses to ignore it. I feel like I showed through my actions. So now I might have I'm not bitter, but like, it's like, you ain't never gonna do me like that no more. That's kind of like the energy. You ain't gonna do me like that no more. You're not gonna make me feel like that no more. And I'm gonna make it a point that you never gonna make me feel small again or not wanted again. And I'm not saying this is right, but I'm just telling you what my thought process is. And I tell myself, I don't care. I don't care. Because I never want to feel the pain that I felt a couple of years ago. I never want to feel that. I never, ever want to be in that space again. Never. So.
When we get back, relationships matter.
Relationships matter. Relationships matter.
Welcome back to Relationships Matter. Do you have anything to say, sir?
Well, I actually wanted to kick it back over to you because I want to continue to give you the time and space to address or say whatever you feel is going to be peaceful to you or give you the level of clarity that you need to be given. Because what I did earlier was, for example, just by being in the moment and being present and just listening. And a lot of times people take that for granted. So it is on record. And I want to continue with this record by showing.
And just when I said,
there we go.
You will never embarrass me.
There we go. We got a little something. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to close my mouth. And I want you to express whatever it is that you said that you haven't gotten a chance to express or get off your chest.
No. I mean, I've said all I needed to say. That's just my thought process when it comes to our friendship. Like I have seen you befriend other people and acknowledge them. I could think of your birthday 2 years ago. And I went out of my way to make sure you had a great gift. And I watch you on social media tell everybody, thank you. You didn't even acknowledge me. And I don't need public acknowledgement, but if you're going to give it to someone, if you're going to give it to people, then why leave me out? And people who are my friends who had knowledge, they looking at me like I'm crazy. And I know you say, I don't go online but you did. It's just like you always I don't know, just like ignored me, or it's like I wasn't a good friend to you, or it's like, and I see you operate like this, not just with me, but like on the surface sometimes. And it's no matter what you try and do, it's like you can only get so far. Like I'm only gonna let you in so far. And I'm like, in my mind, that's family. But to you, it's like it's just another person.
I'm listening.
I mean, that's just
because
really
it's not it.
I don't.
You do. Say it. Speak on it.
Stop. I don't have anything. That's just, I've basically articulated, like, I've probably said this stuff a million times. Not to you, though. You know, I just don't know, like, why you don't. I don't want people to get this misconstrued, because I respect the space that we're in and our friendship, but why you don't care for me the way I care for you. And then I don't understand why I care so much.
That's not it, though.
What?
Keep going. Keep
Gosh.
expressing.
So you just don't let me sit here and do all the talking?
No. I'm going to follow up. But I want to make sure you get your money's worth.
I don't.
The topic of this show is heartbreak, Chanel. Like, if we don't, even within our friendship, if we don't find a way to figure it out, which is what so many people go through, then the foundation will crumble in just a matter of time, because you never know what might trigger somebody or whatever might set the situation back.
I mean, one of the things, I don't know how, if it's damaging or not, but you already know, like, all of this goes back to, like, you didn't choose me. You chose someone else 2 times over in my head. And, like, I told this story on Ministry before. During COVID, because y'all know me to wear this, and it's so ironic. Today, I got braids in my hair. But, and y'all, people know me for this short haircut. But I wore this weave. And I tell the people have heard this story, they may have known what I was talking about, but to get the attention of a man, because I was like, what is he like? This is before now. So you asking me, you keep pushing me. So I'm going to tell you. And so it was just like trying, and I'll never do this again. It's not even something that I'm proud of, but for the sake of the conversation and because relationships do matter and we're on this healing journey, it's important that people know, like, people who have experienced similar situations like myself, trying to appeal to what they think a person likes and not just being themselves. I wore the sewing weave. I'm not even a weave person. I'll put some braids in, but you might not catch me with no, I don't know. I don't want to come back to eat these words later, but as of dates, I don't like to wear the weave, but because my hair is naturally long when I don't cut it. But I wore this weave because I'm like, what is he like? Like, I can't understand. And it just made me like, I was like, I know I'm not ugly, and so I had to wear that too. And so at the time, like I said, I was in a different space. My situation was different. And so, whereas I'd never been in a space where I questioned me or what I look like. Now, I've been in a lot of different scenarios, but not where I questioned like how I looked or, if someone else looked better than me. But in this situation, like, I questioned the very essence of who I was as a person, all the way down to my career. Like, why? Are you pushing me? So I'm talking about it.
I'm not forcing. But
I know, but you like it's more.
Because it is. And you keep a lot tucked. So, I mean,
that's just really it. Like, if a person could be in my home listening to me talk to my best girlfriend, this is what they hear.
That's what I'm saying. And it's like, it's heavy for you. And on the opposite end of 1H, we have to figure out the steps to get to the other H. So we started with heartbreak and we want to end with healing. And that's what I'm saying right now. I didn't say a word for the past segment and a half because it's important for you to express however you need to express what is on your mind, what's on your heart first before I catch that baton.
I mean, that's essentially it. I've always felt invisible, not seen. You know, and then I had to learn, like even to this day, like you're my friend, and like even we do things, you know, for the show, you know, and then even like if it's whatever it is, y'all know, everybody know, I'm a gift giver. I love it. But I have to say, okay, so are you giving this because you genuinely want to give this? Or are you giving this for the affirmation of someone else? Now I'm finally at a place where I'm like, I'm just giving it because I don't have no expectations. I'm not trying to garner anyone's attention. This is just who I am. Now I could make a conscious effort and be like, well, I ain't gonna do nothing, but that's not who I am. That'll be like Chanel going against Chanel, because that's not who I am. And anybody who knows me knows that. But I think that's just my biggest, like, if I had to sum it up, I would just say just feeling like somebody who constantly trying to be somebody's friend, trying to be a part of someone else's life in any capacity, and just constantly being rejected. I mean, even in the context of friendship, rejected. Or always being guarded in how you engage a person, you know, or when we post, always being concerned if it's giving off a different vibe. I'm like, we got a relationship show. When is this not going to be awkward anymore? When is this going to be normal? Because we've both agreed to do this. When is it going to be when I don't have to worry about, does he think this too much? When is it going to be where I can pick a song and be like, is he going to be offended? When can I just be normal? When can I just be regular? And it's so crazy we had this conversation, I'm having an aha moment. When is this narrative going to change? When am I not going to be inundated with, am I doing too much? Like, can I just be me? Can I just be Chanel and not have to worry about being received or not received, being acknowledged or not? Can I just be accepted? That's it. Just wanting to be accepted.
Well, for one, for the sake of time, I will do my best into getting this message out as quickly as possible. For one, I want to say thank you for expressing everything that you've expressed. I acknowledge how you feel. I appreciate you for expressing your truth. I understand how you feel, right? There are parts where I may not agree, but I do understand overall. And I apologize to you for hurting you. I apologize to you for at times making you feel invisible. And the other pain that I've caused is something that has not been intentional. It's not been on my heart to do. I think that and feel that, you know, regardless of my rights or the understanding that I have in the situation, most importantly right now, and for the sake of the work that we're doing and everything else, that is not important. What's important is making sure that you know how heard you are. And I appreciate you for doing that. I appreciate you, period. I appreciate all your efforts, you know what I mean? And how you've done the best that you can to show your friendship and being there, you know. Nothing goes unnoticed. And even being able to serve and do this platform, together. So you are loved and appreciated, Queen. And for the record, here as we sit across from each other, I hope that it is received at this point, because this isn't your first time hearing it. But I want to make sure that it is received, like officially received, because I know that it hasn't been easy for you. And I know that this whole hour wasn't easy for you. And I respect that. But it takes a hell of a person to just say bump it and just lay it all out there, because I know it's not easy for you. And today you have officially received your true stripes of strength, because you were willing to be vulnerable. And there's so much power in that. Relationships matter.
Relationships